Welcome to the Brandinc PR Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories and strategies of today's most impactful entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals. Whether you're building your brand, scaling your business, or just looking for inspiration, you're in the right place. And we are back for another episode of the Brandinc PR Podcast. I am your host, Brandy Sims. I'm happy to see you again and happy to have you join for the latest and greatest of the series. So we are, a week in to January, which is kind of crazy to even say, because I feel like we've been prepping and so holiday focused that now it's like, dang, we're already a week into January. Like, watch 2025, mark my words, is going to fly by just like, not COVID, like 2021. We'll say 2021 is the year that just like, it just came and went. That's what I feel like 2025 is going to be. It's just going to go and fly by so fast. So just mark my words. That's exactly what's going to happen this year. And it's feeling like it already. So this week, of course, I want to talk about all things 2025. We're well in full swing of it, right? And this week is going to be no different. This week I really want to tap into just what are some trends that are happening in the PR and the communication space that are applicable, of course, to other industries. But I want to talk about the top 5 PR trends that you're likely to see as we continue on in what I think is going to be a fast-paced year. But there's already been so many things that have been happening just in this few days alone that I feel like it's so consistent. It's so consistent. So the first thing I want to point out is in terms of PR trends is media pros. So I've been noticing, and correct me if I'm wrong, over the last few months, last few weeks, there has been a heavy transition from media professionals, journalists, reporters, i.e., that are transitioning actually into like PR and specifically into our comm space. And I'm not even mad at it. I'm like, the more and the merrier. I think this is great. But what I'm seeing, and just more frequently, I'm noticing that so many are making that transition as all of the kind of layoffs are happening within the media space. So if you're even checking the news or at least checking social, it's been shared publicly. Many media outlets have either shut down completely or they've been having mass layoffs. And it's been kind of a trend over the last couple of years, largely due in part to just the transition in how we absorb information, how we view media, where we find our media. And it's definitely shaken things up. So you see a lot of newspapers, a lot of magazines that have been announcing layoffs. BuzzFeed, I think, was one of the larger ones that I've noticed even in the more recent years that had a mass layoff. And we don't know what the future is going to hold, but if it continues to trend, I think that one thing is for certain is that we're going to see a lot more media professionals jumping into the PR space. And I'm not even mad at it. I think it's great. As they are jumping into the PR space, I think we're going to see, especially in 2025, more media professionals that are doing their own content creation, right? So one thing that I have also noticed is that I'm seeing a lot more journalists that have gone almost an indie route. They may still be working for their media outlet, maybe still writing, maybe still reporting, but they'll also have their own separate, almost side hustle, right? They'll have their own thing where they can create their own content and they're monetizing on it. So I feel like a lot of them are tapping into what influencers, content creators were already doing and finding their own space and way to monetize themselves. So what you're going to see in 2025 is you're going to see a lot more media pros not only tapping into the PR space, wanting to get into PR consulting and communications, but you're also going to see a lot of them creating their own content for their own platforms, where it be newsletters, podcasts, you name it. There's going to be a lot more opportunities for media folks to kind of dive into it. And I think they are taking that. They're taking and they're saying, listen, I can write, I can put a story together, I can do all of these amazing things. And let me see what I can do if I create it and develop my own platform. So you're going to see a lot, I think, in 2025 of media professionals that are just popping up with their own podcast shows, popping up with their own newsletters, popping up with their own agencies. I don't know. I'm just here for it. I'm here for it because I think ownership is such an amazing thing that you can do. And it's just next level. I think we all should have a piece of something that we can say, this is mine. I've invested into it. I have poured into it, and this is something that I can build my legacy off of. So I'm totally here for it. So first thing, media pros are turning into content creators is one of the first trends that I see happening, and what you should absolutely watch for in 2025. The next one, and this one I really sat down as I was putting these together and I was really thinking about it. And I'm like, you know what? AI. So I know AI has been kind of our, next hottest thing, right? Everyone has tapped into AI from businesses to organizations, public figures. Everybody's tapped into AI in one way, shape, or form. And they found really great benefits to it, but we've also figured out a lot of challenges to AI, right? So one of the things that I foresee happening in 2025, and again, mark my words, this is going to be a thing, but I see people actually, instead of revving up AI, I see them dialing back on AI. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that. I see people dialing back on AI. And here's why. And this is my theory. So, because AI has been kind of this huge boom in the last couple of years, I think we're on the almost like plateau, not necessarily plateau, a bit above the plateau, but we're kind of getting there at the point where everyone has done it, everyone has seen it, everyone can recognize it. And if you can't recognize it like 100%, you're close, right? Where you look at that picture and you're like, is it or is it not AI? Or you look at a social media post and you're like, a little bit too much emojis, like that's not a human talking, that's AI. That is the point that we're at today. So what I foresee in 2025 is first see people actually dialing back on AI and actually trying to create and really go back to creating their own content, creating their own designs, creating their own images that are worthwhile and really interesting. And largely because I think that people are starting to figure out which one is AI, and in turn saying, oh, well, if you just did AI, then this isn't really authentic. This might as well be spam. And why should I even invest into it, right? Like, AI has given us so much really great benefits in terms of efficiency, time effectiveness, you name it. But it's also kind of exposed a little bit of our laziness, especially for those that, and you know it when you see the post, it's like you just literally told it to create and you just copy pasted. You didn't even bother to put any thought into this. You didn't bother to kind of tailor it towards you, which, by the way, AI says it, or really Chat GPT, I should say, excuse me. Chat GPT tells you, like, tailor it towards yourself so it sounds more like you. And some of y'all just said, you know what, whatever, we're just going to copy paste and move on our way. Check the box, it's done. And it shows. It shows. Consumers are picking up on this. They're recognizing and they're seeing that, okay, this is just an AI generated post and you're one of millions of other people that are doing the same thing. This isn't special. This isn't unique. Why do I care? I feel like because of that, I see that in 2025, a lot of brands are going to kind of dial it back a little bit. Okay, we're still going to use AI. It's still a helpful tool. It's still an incredible tool, right? GPT is amazing. However, when we're looking for authenticity, when we're looking for that genuine connection, we're looking for that content that resonates with us, we got to dial it back. We got to go back to our roots. And that's where I feel like this is going to be a huge space for writers and content writers, copywriters that'll be able to really get in there and be like, hey, I'm an original writer. I wrote this, like, no AI. This is me, right? I feel like that is we're going to see it come back. It's the pendulum swinging. Right now, it's kind of shifting this way. This is when peak AI and Chat GPT. And I feel like we're now on that almost like kind of a little bit of downward slope, still up there, but a little bit of a downward slope into where people are starting to recognize Chat GPT and they're starting to recognize what is real and what is fake. And they're saying, if you're just going to copy and paste, why should I invest in your brand? Why should I engage with you? I mean, and you're not even saying anything unique. It's literally just a copy and paste, just like everybody else. And this is my last rant on AI. When people share social media posts and it starts with that's so exciting or exciting news, already know. I already know it is ChatGPT. Nothing is that exciting, guys. Nothing is that exciting. Sometimes things are exciting. I will give you that. But everything, every social media post that you share is exciting. ChatGPT. I'm just saying. We're going to see people starting to dial back, and we're going to start to see real, authentic content coming through. I kid you not. It's going to be happening. This is the pendulum swing, and it's swinging back, guys. And you're going to start to see more people doing that. In fact, I think you should adopt that. Just saying. That's kind of one thing that I think the trend we should be watching for in 2025. So the next thing, I think in 2025, something to watch out for. I think you're going to see a lot more online media collaborations. And more specifically, you're going to see a lot more brands and public figures using podcast platforms, blogs, to conduct interview, to engage with. You're going to see a lot more of this. I know in a previous episode, I talked about the Wicked premiere and just the amazing, amazing PR and marketing campaign rollouts that happened with the movie release. And it was just such a good example of exactly what I'm saying right now. You're seeing a lot of the bigger names coming down to the online podcast blog world, and I'm loving it. I'm here for it because several years ago, it wasn't like that. You wouldn't see top name celebrities or just major public figures entertaining blogs or entertaining podcasts in the way that they're doing now, because back then they didn't have the following that they had. They didn't have the engagement that they had. But cut to today, you see podcasts and you see blogs making numbers that traditionally only television, magazines, and newspaper were doing. So, or subscribers, not view. You get what I'm saying with that. But they're not doing those numbers like they were doing in previous years. Now, podcasts are and online blogs and online platforms, they're creating these numbers and they're getting eyeballs on the pages, whether it be the blog itself, or they're tuning into the shows online. These are where people are going to find out their news, their information, and thus this is a platform and these are spaces that you want to be a part of. So I definitely see as a continuation of this trend of more larger brands, and honestly, even more smaller brands too, that are doing more online collaborations. And I just want to say this, a couple of years back, it's just so crazy to see how much things are changing, right? Several years back, I had a client that let me know right out the gate, um, all the other media interviews are fine. Love TV, love radio, love print. That works. But no podcasts. And when I asked them, okay, well, what's the deal with podcasts? Why don't you want to be on a podcast? Their response to me was that podcasts are just, I mean, it's not serious media and nobody's paying attention to them like that. It's just we just think our platform and our brand is just above that. Kid you not. So this was only about 5 or 6 years ago that this comment was made. So podcasts were kind of popping off at that time, right? So cut to now, where you have folks like Call Her Daddy, podcast host, securing like a multi-million-dollar deal with Sirius FM, which is one of the original satellite radio stations, securing that major deal. One of the only podcasts, and I think the only podcast and woman-led podcast to actually do this. It's incredible. It's incredible. So I say all this to say that in this new year, we're not going to be sleeping on podcasts and blogs anymore. This is definitely going to be where the attention needs to be placed. If you're a brand or you're a business public figure,
you definitely need to be tapping into your online media outlets, your blogs, your podcasts. That is where this is going. We're seeing the entire shift. And with that, what's going to be trending is you're going to see a lot more media collaborations. You're going to see a lot more bigger brands tapping in because they want some of that audience too. They want some of those eyeballs. Okay. So it definitely speaks to you in saying that, listen, you need to be incorporating podcasts, blogs, online platforms into your PR and marketing strategy for 2025. Can't sleep on it. This is certainly a trend you need to be watching, paying attention on, but also tapping into it for sure. So the next thing I think for 2025, that's definitely something you should be watching out for. It's just more creative brand partnerships. Last year, I love Deadpan. I love the comedies in action. Deadpool versus Wolverine was one of my faves last year because I like that style of humor. But they were able to hit, essentially a blockbuster hit, shattered records. But one thing that I noticed within the entire campaign leading up to the release of the movie was all of the brand partnerships that happened with it. And it was not just the brand partnerships that happened with it. It was just the types of brand partnerships that came from it, right? So there were several really, really solid brand partnerships that happened with the Deadpool versus Wolverine movie. But I really liked the just unique ones, right? They did a collaboration with Heinz Ketchup and Mustard and basically had it set up like the ketchup was Deadpool, the mustard was Wolverine, and made it into these really catchy, cute, and engaging ads. That was so cool. It was so simple, but it was something that you wouldn't expect. This blockbuster hit, it's already been in theaters before. This is the third film at this point, and it has its own following because of comic book series, right? And all of the comic book folks are already following it, right? So it already has its own thing. But then you tap into just kind of almost an unusual space and tapping into like household goods and household food items and things like that. That's a really, really cool approach to something that is already recognized, already loved, and tapping into something else that's already recognized and loved in an almost an unusual partnership. So I think that in 2025, one of the trends that you're going to see, and in addition to, just seeing the marketing campaign from Deadpool versus Wolverine, is that you're going to see a lot more creative brand partnerships. And this is one that, again, I am here for it. I'm excited about it. I like to see just the uniqueness and in their approach to partnering with brands that you wouldn't have expected to partner with. Like with Wicked, there were several brand partnerships that took place, and I talk about this in another episode, and I was really impressed by theirs as well because of the sheer volume of partnerships that they did. But they very much tailored Wicked towards like the typical niche products that would kind of align with Wicked, right? So there were like makeup products, nail products, there were, I think, hair products, obviously apparel, those things. But on the flip side with Deadpool and Wolverine, you've got, grocery goods, you've got different partnerships with AMC. Like, there were so many different angles that they went with it. And I thought it was really, really neat. And it's something that I wrote down and I was like, this is something I think is going to become a thing that we should be looking out for. And it's going to be a pop-in trend that more brands are going to start to just get creative in terms of their brand partnerships, not just brands, not just collaborating with brands that are exactly aligned or exactly complementary, like the obvious, right? That you would partner with, but those that, while they're not the blueprint or exactly who we would partner with, we kind of make sense and we can make this fun and we can make this really cool and we can make this unique. That is what I see is going to happen more of. You're going to see more unique partnerships like this that make a difference and make people really just engage and really hyped up for whatever release launch is happening in the upcoming months or year. So finally, the last thing I see that's going to be happening in 2025 and something you absolutely need to be, watching out for and seeing this trend taking place is speaking engagements. I think there's an evolution of speaking engagements, right? I see speaking engagements transitioning from just more of the almost informal word of mouth style, like bookings, to an actual more structured package. And so hear me out. So in the past, whenever you would seek speaking engagements and things like that, you would just reach out to event planners, organizers, etc. And you still do. You still do today. So I'm not saying that that's gone. It's still happening. But a lot of it was based on word of mouth. A lot of it was based on, hey, do you know somebody that would be good fit for this? Send them over the presentation and we'll go with them. Well, now, because there's been such, and I'll say pandemic timeframe is where I saw it the most. There's so many people coming out saying that they're speakers, regardless if they have experience or not. But there's so many speakers that are available now. It's almost oversaturated. So now this has forced organizers to get really honed in on who exactly they're looking for and who is the best fit for their event that they're planning and they're organizing. So what I've started to see more often is I see that businesses or really organizations, I see organizations putting together more of an effort to filter down who is the best fit to speak and provide a presentation. I'm seeing more forms having to be completed. I'm seeing more of a vetting process, which I'm not mad at. I think that's great. I also have seen, surprisingly enough, some events have started to actually couple um, their speaker opportunities into like a sponsorship, which, you know, this wasn't something that, you saw a lot of, you've heard of it. It may have been once or twice, but I'm definitely starting to see more and more events starting to transition their speaker opportunities into more of a sponsorship package. Now, there's obviously going to be a caveat to this, right? I see this happening more with those speakers that are inexperienced or those that aren't really well known within the speaker circuit, having to be offered things like sponsorship packages and things like that. Those that are very experienced speakers or celebrities, if you have that celebrity stamp, I think that's literally your black card for the world and everything around you. You're not probably not dealing with that. I don't You're not going to have to deal with someone telling you got to pay to speak. I'm just going to be honest. They're not telling celebrities to pay, you got to pay to speak. No, because that doesn't make any sense. However, those that do not have a large following or are kind of building up their speaker creds, you can absolutely see this is going to start to affect you and start to happen. But largely, guys, it's because I think the speaker market has gotten so oversaturated, and there's a lot of people that are saying that they're speakers now, and I mean, it's a high demand. It's a high demand, but at the same time, now there's just too many speakers. So now what you'll see, and really what I foresee in 2025, is we're going to see just kind of again the evolution of speaker opportunities and speaking engagements, and it's going to go away from just only relying solely on word of mouth to, okay, we have a structured package. You have to fill out a form. You have to do XYZ. Or, hey, love to have you speak if you pay $10,000. I don't know, but I have seen one. So to be honest, I have seen some of those and was kind of like, okay, at that point, obviously you don't need the speaker that bad. And if somebody's interested and needs to gain experience and they're not getting calls back, I guess that's one way to do it. And you are able to sponsor as well. But, that's something that it's really up to you. It's something that you need to review your budget, talk to your team about if it's a good fit. Personally and professionally, I don't think anybody should have to pay to speak at an event. However, I do understand also that you need to gain experience. So wherever you need to get in where you fit in, you need to do that so that you can build up your expertise. But we can all agree that, expertise is important in this space, and certainly being someone that can present and someone that can provide a really, really thoughtful speech. It's worth paying for. So, it's one of those things, like there's several caveats to it, but I do see just based on just kind of the trends and what I've seen over the last couple of years, I see 2025 being the year where we're going to start to see almost a full swing of events starting to just have very structured, very streamlined packages in terms of who they're looking for and what they want and what you essentially offer them. And if that's the case, because we'll be talking about this in a year, like, okay, did all of my predictions and things to watch out for come true? If that is the case, then that means, honestly, guys, you need to tighten up your packages. Make sure your presentation is solid. Make sure you've practiced. Make sure that you're doing run throughs. Try some smaller events where you can get some practice, get some events under your belt where you can say that, listen, I have done presentations and I have spoken for seminars and webinars and all those other things. Get some experience under your belt so that you can command the rates that you're looking for. But as it stands now, there's a lot of speakers and there's not enough events. So, got to tighten it up, get better, start to connect with people. And like I said, get in where you fit in. But that's one of the trends that I definitely see is going to be something that sticks around for some time. So just to kind of sum up everything. So the top 5 PR trends to watch out for in 2025. First things first, media pros are turning into content creators. The second, we're going to see people dialing back on AI. Nothing wrong with that. Not saying eliminate it, but dialing back is going to help you with your approach and help you with your engagement. Online, there's going to be a lot more online media collaboration. So think podcasts, think blogs. These are the places that you need to be connecting with because these are the new playmakers of media, and you would be a fool to be not tapped in. So definitely be getting connected with them. We're also going to see a lot more creative brand partnerships. Hi, Deadpool versus Wolverine. Absolutely loved it. Love the Heinz ketchup and mustard. You got to think creatively, okay? And we're going to see a lot more of that as we move on throughout the year. And then, of course, finally, we're going to see an evolution of speaking engagements as a whole. We're going to see a lot more packages, a lot more sponsorship kind of tailored into speaking. So in which case, either you need to get more experience so that you can command those fees that you're looking for, or you need to start considering these packages that are being offered by events to have speakers be a part of them. Because right now, what we can say is that the market is super, super oversaturated with speakers and you have to stand out. So do what you need to do to stand out so you can get the opportunities that you're looking for. And that's everything. That is our episode today, guys. So don't forget to leave us a review, the Brandinc PR Podcast, and I'll see you next week. Bye.